YouTube is undoubtedly one of the largest social media platforms in the world, boasting its outstanding 122 million daily active users, unique content, and amazing creator perks like no other. But how could the largest video creation platform in the world make a decision that would ultimately ruin its name, scam its users, and even break the law at the same time? This is the story of how the largest video creation platform in the world is abusing loopholes to break the law with little repercussions. It is May of 2023, and YouTube is experiencing the largest low in over a decade. With Google's primary source of income branching from its advertisers, YouTube heavily relies on its advertisements to make money. By playing an ad, they garner revenue and you get your video when it's finished, allowing YouTube to keep its platform free for everyone. At least that's how it is on the surface. Just below this disguise was the cold hard truth. YouTube didn't actually care about its users, so much so that YouTube's only goal became very clear very quickly. As a result, the amount of people who sought a way to prevent these advertisements increased immensely, creating one of YouTube's worst enemies, YouTube ad blockers. But how could YouTube ad blockers be such an issue for YouTube? According to a statistic recently published, a mind-numbingly 31% of the people on YouTube are using some form of ad blockers, the largest percent ever seen in the internet's history. This created a very huge problem for YouTube. And YouTube ad revenue alone, they were losing a life-changing $180 million every quarter. While that amount of money was nothing compared to their massive profits yearly, YouTube was at risk, and YouTube had to make a choice. YouTube anti-ad block. This was the choice YouTube had made. However, we would soon come to find out just how badly this decision would backfire. You see, with YouTube exponentially increasing the amount of ads on its platform, longer ads were introduced, more ads were shown per roll, and even unskippable ads were introduced. Things were never going to be the same. Its viewers were absolutely sick of this. Something had to change, or things were only going to continue to worsen. But was YouTube even allowed to do this in the first place? This single question would immediately set off some of the most disturbing decisions ever made on YouTube's platform. And there wasn't a single thing anyone could do to stop it. You see, in response to the backlash that YouTube was receiving, they would change their terms of service, stating that, quote, YouTube ad blockers are against YouTube's terms of service. Not only did YouTube betray its viewers with its constant advertisement increases, it removed the ability to use ad blockers and was now threatening to ban its users for simply trying to enjoy an ad-free user experience. YouTube no longer cared about its viewers. However, things would not go the way YouTube wanted it to. Amidst this decision to fight ad blockers, it would make one of the worst mess-ups imaginable, causing YouTube to absolutely lose the battle against ad blockers. In early October, a massive annual conference for some of the largest ad blocker companies in the world would be held in Amsterdam. Boasting its massive welcoming and live event, this conference would welcome some of the tech world's biggest names, including Google. In fact, Google was funding the entire event. But why was Google attending an event meant for its competitors? What reason did Google have to be there? And were they even interested in investing into ad blockers further? No. In fact, it was the exact opposite. No one else truly knew it at this time, but Google was using this move as a way to disguise their true intentions, to ultimately take down ad blockers for good. Now that the beginning of its plan was in full effect, it was now or never. Google had to make its move. In response to this, Google gives YouTube a green light, pushing YouTube to fully roll out the adblock campaign in its full force, attempting to stomp out ad blockers before they could even get the chance to combat them. They had been played. This event was plastered all over social media. There was not a single news outlet that wasn't covering this update. That is just how destructive this was. In fact, it was so effective that it set a record for the most consecutive adblock uninstalls in history. AdGuard, the largest ad blocker at the time, was hit so hard that it saw well over 11,000 uninstalls per day, even reaching a groundbreaking 52,000 on October 18th. The sheer reality was Google was winning. No matter what opposing companies tried to do, they were constantly being stomped out by Google. Disturbingly enough, however, this would put ad blockers at a huge standstill, as their tech just wasn't good enough to compete against YouTube. However, an unforeseen development would absolutely shake Google to its core. Due to Google's lack of caution when selecting ads to display on their website, a ton of scams were bleeding through. With no way to defend against these scam ads, a lot of people were put at risk. Things were now worse than they had ever been before, yet things were only continuing to get even worse. No matter how many times YouTube was called out for their lack of change regarding the matter, Google ignored and even refused to put a stop to the scam advertisements. Something had to change. Yet, it was never going to be that simple. Google didn't realize it at this time, but their lack of response and undeniable greed would be the very downfall that they were seeking to prevent. We were left with no choice. Since YouTube wouldn't address it, someone had to. Immediately, thousands of creators took to YouTube, creating videos with a single goal: to expose YouTube. Right along with its greed. Whether YouTube liked it or not, awareness was going to be raised. In fact, so many notable names began making videos on the situation that people began boycotting YouTube, swearing they would never use YouTube again until something changed. Things weren't so simple that YouTube could just ignore the situation without repercussions. However, Google had a loophole, and as a result, chose to refuse to respond. The truth was only becoming more and more clear, however. YouTube, Google, and even Alphabet, the company behind it all, would do absolutely anything in their power to make money. It seemed like we were failing. Google just wouldn't listen to anyone. Everyone was starting to feel helpless. However, hope wasn't lost. Behind the success that Google was seeing with the adblock uninstall, there was a very key component that they were failing to acknowledge. By forcing their competitors to give up or force them to keep up with Google, they were only going to make ad blockers stronger. With the prevention of ad blockers, users had two choices: uninstall and leave it at that, or find another option. Just like YouTube, they weren't going to give up that easily. And the beauty of it all is that YouTube wouldn't even realize their mistake until it was too late. They had started a revolution, but to begin with, YouTube was a hypocrite. When the ad blocker messages pop up while watching a video, the message it displays states that YouTube ad blockers are against YouTube's terms of service. Ironically enough, however, the parent company to both Google and YouTube, Alphabet, was hiding a very dark secret. If you Google Alphabet, you can find a list of companies and products they own. If you scroll enough, you will find that one of the many things in their list of products is the Chrome Web Store. On the surface, this is completely harmless. It's a platform that allows developers and creators to produce plugins for users to install, while Alphabet takes a percent-based fee from the developers. Seems fair, right? Wrong. There is a very disgusting truth lying within this website. While both Google and YouTube were actively fighting to bring down ad blockers, the Chrome Web Store had one of the very features they were looking to destroy. In fact, they were even promoting them: ad blockers. Google themselves featured these apps on their homepage, which only increased the rate at which they were downloaded. So not only were they taking money from the creators of the ad blockers, they were promoting ad blockers and even profiting from them, despite the overlap in terms of their other platforms. To make matters even more disgusting, when the profit for them began decreasing, they gave up because they knew that by killing ad blockers entirely, they could profit much more. Absolutely blinded by greed. Now, the cold hard truth was obvious. YouTube promoted ad blockers to make money from their competitors, while also attempting to ban ad blockers to make as much money as possible. Yet, this still wasn't the entire truth. With all of the factors combined, YouTube's goal was clear: to annoy its users as much as possible until they get annoyed enough to pay for YouTube Premium. Meaning, YouTube's only goal was to either push people to buy Premium in attempts to make more money, or to ban the ones who refused to do so. This was made very obvious with yet another disgusting money-grabbing feature YouTube would add. This feature would limit the quality of videos to only the users of YouTube Premium. However, despite their attempts at loopholing through their terms of service, new information would arise, proving that YouTube had been breaking the law the entire time. You see, ad blockers use a strategy to block ads by monitoring the information being sent by the webpage and blacklisting advertisers' embeds. A lot of companies and websites post their embedded codes and addresses publicly, allowing ad blockers to store and dismiss ads that match these codes. And YouTube's response to the solution was to activate what is called an anti-adblock script. YouTube received a ton of criticism for this, as this was blatantly illegal and insensitive to user privacy. You see, in order for YouTube to prevent the blocking of ads, it has to constantly monitor the changes in information being sent and received by your browser. then the data being sent and received needs to be stored in order to prevent it from happening again. Because of this, YouTube's anti-ad blocker directly violates EU law. This specific law states the storing of information or the gaining of access to information already stored in the terminal equipment of a subscriber or user is only allowed on condition that the subscriber or user concerned has given his or her consent. And according to recent events, the Commission confirmed in writing that the usage of this JavaScript results in unlawful storage of information without end-user agreement. YouTube is just becoming overly greedy in taking advantage of the people using its platform. And the sad reality is, they have only hurt themselves further. Thanks for watching, and make sure you join my Discord. Link in description.